taste of freedom, taste of democracy, and they don't want to go back. And also because they were engaging with, outside world, a lot of people gained that capability. Not only they want it, they think they can get it back, right? And that's why a year after the coup, people hasn't given up. They want it, and they will find a way to get it back.
Aloha and Minglaba to our guest today, Dr. Mimi Winbird. She is an expert in U.S.-Myanmar relations, and she's a professor here at DKI APCSS. Ma'am, welcome to our podcast. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I think what is of interest to me personally is that you are a U.S.-Myanmar expert, but you were actually born in the country. You spent time there all the way up to the 8th grade, and you speak Burmese.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about what was it like growing up in Myanmar?
Yeah, when I was growing up in Myanmar, right, Myanmar was a socialist country. So, and it was very much isolated. So I have it was rare I have met or seen white people or, or black even, right? So it was really amazing when I came to, United States. It was just, a totally different culture, different people. They look different. And I have never seen a television.
Really?
When I left Myanmar. The first time I saw television was in Bangkok airport.
Really?
Yeah, so it was so, we're so backward at the time, and we get like radio had like those vacuum tubes, and we get radio programming maybe like once or twice a week type of thing,
So how did you entertain yourself?
Oh, well, we have, just like human has, entertained themselves before, right? We play a lot with the other kids, we make up games because we don't have ready-made toys like so we have to use a lot of imagination. So, we will listen to the radio song and then we will sing together, singing, we will dance, that type of stuff. And we play, we would, get a little blades and then we cut up plants and then we make like a salad out of them, like clay. We have to make it ourselves.
Even to this day, when I visited Myanmar in 2008, singing and music and dancing was a huge part of their culture. So
that's
I
right.
bet that's even to this day.
Yeah, we entertain ourselves that way. Yeah.
What was it that brought you from Myanmar to the U.S.?
Oh, my family, my parents immigrated to United States, for better opportunity. So we, as a kid, it's not my decision; it's my parents' decision, but it's the right decision, obviously, because I have been given a lot of opportunities as a result, of our immigration here. Yeah.
And talking about your opportunities, tell us a little bit about your education and your expertise.
Okay. All right. Well, I went to as I was about to go to a university, right? It was 5 years after, right? My immigrant family, we don't have very much money to send me off to college. So I started competing for scholarships, and the U.S. Army, ROTC, gave me the scholarship. So that's how I ended up in this. So, as a result, I had to serve in the military, right?
What was your MOS, your specialty?
My basic MOS was 91 Delta, which is ordnance ammunition. But then right after the first Gulf War, I was recruited into civil affairs because of my language capability and my Burmese background. So I was, pulled into a special ops. So I've been, pretty much until I retire, I stay as a civil affairs officer.
28 years, right?
Yeah, 28 years.
Yeah, that's a long time of service. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, I think that I have gained more from my service to, in the military than I think I was able to give because of, it's just opportunities. Like back to you were talking about education, right? All my degrees were paid for by the military. So my undergrad, my master's, my doctorate, my doctorate was paid for by the GI Bill. So if it wasn't for the military, U.S. Army giving me all these opportunity in education, I wouldn't have been able to do
That's
that.
amazing.
It's very expensive, right? Education.
While you're getting your education and you're traveling with the Army, I'm sure you're going all over the place. What were your thoughts about your home country, your birth country of Myanmar? Like what was happening there? What were your thoughts and feelings about Myanmar?
Well, up to 1988, I hadn't thought much about it because I was a kid. I left, and I was struggling trying to fit into this, this new culture, new country, right? And as like every kid's, right, I just want to be an American. I don't want to be different, right? So you're trying to assimilate. You're too busy with that. And then I was it's after advanced camp. It's a summer between junior and senior year. After advanced camp, I got an opportunity to do it. They call it CTLT, like an internship, cadet troop leadership training. So they ended up sending me to Korea for 5 weeks. It was August 1988, and while I was there, the whole in Myanmar, in Burma, was the uprising, 88 uprising. Right. So I saw it for the first time, and it and people knew that I was originally from Burma, so they go, Mimi, come and look at it, and that was the first time I started to think about Burma again, a different, and then also at the same time, South Korea was transition, that was right as they're preparing for their Seoul Olympics, that's kind of like coming out, right? So, I was just thinking about Korea transitioning to, full democracy, and then there's Myanmar still struggling, right? And now looking back, right, how Korea has become the first world nation, right, and Myanmar still struggles. So it's very sad to see, the two country kind of similar situation, but now they one has progressed and one still stagnant.
Well, in talking about Myanmar's progress, so just recently, Biden's administration released the Indo-Pacific strategy, right? And there's a lot of familiar policies that are in there: free and open Indo-Pacific, prosperity, security. And when we're talking about Myanmar, from your expert opinion, how far or what does Myanmar need to do to advance in those directions?
Right. Well, Myanmar was in transition to democracy, right, for past 10 years before the coup, and it liberalized its economy. It had some level of democracy, representative political system, and that was the time Myanmar saw unprecedented economic growth and advancement. Right. It had never seen that under the regime, and now, after right now.
You mean post after Aung San Suu Kyi was released in 2010?
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes. She was released in 2010, and then Myanmar truly tried to practice democracy in that unprecedented growth. So we can see kind of almost like a natural experiment going on. The authoritarian regime, and versus the democracy, right? And you can compare them right there in Myanmar, and which one grow faster. Right. So, so that's the, I think that evidence, in our lifetime that we can see what the open system, open and free and open Indo-Pacific can do.
The 10 years of experiment, right? I think you actually called it disciplined democracy.
Yeah, they call it discipline.
They call it
disciplined democracy. Nevertheless, it was, different, right? It was not authoritarian. Yes, it's not exactly like our system, but still, it still has many component and features of democracy.
In your engagements with, I'm sure with DKI APCSS or other engagements you have in your personal expertise with the country, what were some of the benefits you saw firsthand in Myanmar?
The opening? Yeah, the opening, brought Myanmar into the international community, right? It's no longer isolated. So people are able to engage with the outside. So they're starting to understand, their aperture was, open wider, right? And that also playing out to post-coup, after the coup right now, that 10 years of engagement has really give people different mindset, right? They really tasted the taste of freedom, taste of democracy, and they don't want to go back. And also because they were engaging with, outside world, a lot of people gained that capability. Not only they want it, they think they can get it back. right? And that's why a year after the coup, people hasn't given up. They want it, and they will find a way to get it back. And in that particular thing, what I found interesting was the women. Right? Because under the military regime, women lost a lot of their rights, right? They were marginalized because it's a male-dominated, structure, like military regime. But so, and during that opening, women got a lot of opportunity, and also a lot of the Western aid coming in had a lot of women empowerment feature to it. So women were educated, given opportunity, their capability and capacity got strengthened and increased. So in this coup, post-coup environment, 65% of the resistance forces are made up of women.
I didn't know that.
Yes, because they know they have more to lose.
Wow. And you also talk about Generation Z and,
yes.
and their response to the military coup last year. Tell me about who are Myanmar's Generation Z and what's their role?
Right. Well, Generation Z grew up, right? They grew up during this opening, right? So they are digital natives. They're very much technological savvy, and they are engaged with they grew up engaging with the world.
Right. I saw, I didn't verify the statistic, but I saw something that Myanmar went from 1% with access to the internet to somewhere near half.
Right, that's right.
And it seems like this is the group that got the internet. And even
grew up with the internet.
Right, and even when you saw, I'm sure you saw that video of the girl doing the exercises and the coup happening
behind. Yeah,
right. I mean, doesn't that tell you a little bit about how this country has advanced in these 10 years?
Right. In that 10 years before, before the opening, I think only like less than 10% had access to telephone, right? A cell phone. And then, it went from like almost 70 to 80% had cell phone, right before the coup, and even right now too. And you will see like little vendor, right? The beetle nut vendor, right, with the little thing, but they will have like the smartphone.
Is it Facebook? Because I saw something that said that Facebook is the big social media tool for.
Right. Because they came online, and then Facebook was becoming very popular, so everybody got onto Facebook. So in many ways, they think that internet is Facebook.
Ah, really?
Yes. When you think about internet, they just think of Facebook.
Okay.
So they think it's synonymous with Facebook and internet.
And you touched upon this a little bit already, but my question is, we have the coup that happened last year, February 1st, and so how is this different or the same from what we experienced pre-2011? I mean, you mentioned that these people have new perspectives. And
new capabilities.
Right. So how is this playing out in the last year?
Right.
How are they responding?
Right. So, I've been asked that question a lot. How is it different? And in many ways it's different. And we cannot look at the history as an indicator of what it will be, how it will turn out. Because initially when the coup occurred, many people, including a lot of the, Burma watch out, the military will, take it back. And up to today, military has unable to get control of the entire country.
Right. Because you called it Myanmar's U-turn in your last article, right?
That's right.
And so my question is it a complete U-turn all the way back? So it sounds like they're trying to go completely back, but the capabilities, like you're saying, prevents them from taking complete control.
Right, that's right. So that's what the military want, is the U-turn. They try to do the U-turn, but people are not allowing them to do it. Right. And then back to saying, like, because of the opening, right, they have more capability, they have more capacity, right? So they're innovating, even though they don't have the firepower, right, the military brutality, against the military brutality and use of firepower, they were able to get around it and with a variety of way, right?
How are they doing that?
So, for example, CDM, right, that you hear CDM, a civil disobedience movement, that crippled the military completely. All the civil servants, like 90% of them left their job, right? So then they come to, the military couldn't operate the bureaucracy.
They have the incapability to respond with violence in that sense, right?
Right.
So like you're saying, it's another way around.
Right. What they only have left is the violence. That's all they're left with, and that's why they're using it. You know, that their strategy. The only element left in their strategy is the violence, right? To create fear.
Right.
But the people, more they kill, they use brutality. People, instead of being fearful, they get more, committed. Their resolve grew for the injustice, and that their voices have been overturned. Their wishes have been overturned. So people get more committed, actually, and which is in line with what we, in our U.S. military, we talk about coin strategy, right? You want to win hearts and minds, but you don't win hearts and minds by, being brutal to the people. Right, so it has. We always say, like, if you kill one terrorist and their family, you can grow 10 more. Right. So same thing in this thing. The same principle apply in Myanmar. So more they kill the innocent civilian, these young Gen Zs, more people got committed to like, no, we're going to, for once and for all, we will root the military out, because in '88. They didn't do it. In 1991, they couldn't do it. So this time, we are going to do it, and they are very much committed to that.
Right.
And then, like I was saying, also second piece is the diaspora. Myanmar diaspora across the globe has now they are mobilized. So many years are also brutality in the ethnic area. Many of the minority ethnic group has to flee as refugees. Right, to different countries. Now they're doing very well. They're educated, and they're doing very well. Yeah, I was not a refugee, but I'm educated and right, and a lot of capability. So they are going, and because of the ICT, communication, information communication technology is a lot more adopted. So these people are able to utilize that ICT to talk back to the people, the inside, and providing that needed technical advice, right? That knowledge and networks, knowledge networks and funding to the people. And these diaspora, their military has no way to touch them, right? They're out of their reach, right? And as the result, the international community is, they've been able to mobilize the international community. So every time something happened in Myanmar, real time gets spread all over. And these diasporas are making sure, the diaspora communities are making sure that.
Where are they? Are they primarily in one region?
No,
I guess they must be everywhere.
Well, I would say Africa. Not too many in Africa or South America, but they're in like North America. They're in Australia, New Zealand, Europe. All over, right? So they from there they are supporting, and every community, I know for sure in U.S. the Myanmar community in the U.S. every weekend they have some type of fundraising. They are demonstrations, right? And then also they are lobbying the Congress, right, to pay attention to.
That was actually one of my questions, which is, the center, our mission is to educate, connect, and empower. And so what can the international community do, which you mentioned a few of them there, to empower the people of Myanmar to advance?
Right.
And so you mentioned, what else? You said lobbying Congress, fundraising,
and technical advice, right? Technical advice, providing strategies, and and just that's why it's not the same environment as before. And then since the coup, I've been kind of looking at what are the common elements in these historically the successful revolutions or uprising. And what I found was that there are three key elements appear in these successful struggles. First one is the people's anger. The majority of the people anger, and their support, right? They're being mobilized and motivated is number one. Number two is the international pressure. And then the third is the defection of elite and military. So those are the three elements that commonly appear in the successful struggle. So using that framework, right, you can tell that Myanmar is they still are committed and they have the support, because the latest one was on February 1st, right? They had a silent strike. Right? The entire country was quiet, right? I mean, after a year, and the military was trying to threaten them that if you have to open your shops, you got to go out, and people still, still showed their dissatisfaction. They're against the military, disapproval by staying home and being creative way of protesting, right? That tells you that the resolve is still there, and that all these PDF, People Defense Forces, and the National Unity Government that they have formed, funding still coming to them, right? So that tells you that people are still up in arms. They still are committed to that, and then you can see on the international pressure, right? The ASEAN, unprecedented, has not really recognized the SAC, the military regime.
So you talk about civil disobedience, and so that seems to be a successful way forward. What do you think are the next steps in terms of moving the movement, advancing, and at least immediately in the near future?
Right. I think that Myanmar is a little bit complex environment. Even since its independence, it's divided, right? The Burmans, the Burma, who are the majority, and the ethnic minority, they have never get along, right? There's a lot of mistrust and distrust, and then there's also I think also there was a military strategy, right, to make sure everybody's divided so that they can continue to control it and manipulate it, right? But since the coup, there has been unprecedented coming together, right?
Unity is really important.
The unity, right? Because they have a common enemy now. They're all in military, but they still have many, these many years of decades of mistrust and distrust that need to be worked through. So more they are able to overcome these, then they can cooperate even more tighter. Tighter the cooperation, and if they're able to have a unity of effort, right? Then they can definitely. I think that will be the turning point. I think they have reached the tipping point with these strikes, and as you can see, the people are really still with it, right? But I think that to get to the turning point is that
they really have to come together
into a more unity,
peace, right, amongst themselves.
So among themselves, right? But meanwhile, military is kind of collapsing on its own. And that's something that I've been watching a lot. But because military collapsed, that means they won the war, but can they win the peace, right? That winning the peace is all about cooperation, this tight-knit, close unity that will deliver the peace.
And when you're talking about trying to achieve that level of unity, it's not an easy task.
No, it is not. Yeah.
And so, I think about leadership for the country. Aung San Suu Kyi has been the face of democracy. She's been carrying the torch for decades, but she's 76 years old.
Right.
And so, looking into the future, there's a lot of there's a new generation in Myanmar. And so, my question is, who are the leaders? Where are they going to come from? What do they need to be able to push the country forward? Right.
Well, in a way, having Aung San Suu Kyi as the figure, the one person, right? The democracy movement was based on this one person. So when that one person is gone, it was really. But I think this current situation is more healthy. You have group, but there's no one individual. There's a group, and then plus on top of it, this movement has gone beyond Aung San Suu Kyi. Right. And many of the resistance fighters, they don't really care about the party, right? The National League for Democracy Party or anything. They just want freedom.
It's about freedom.
Right? It's about freedom and about democracy, not about party politics. So there are many sector, there are several they're mostly young people. They're mostly the Gen Z, older part of Gen Z that are in their, nearly 30s that are leading their charge. So it's not just one, it's like several of them. leading from where they stand.
That's like in the military. I always told when I was in the military, you can't have a single point of failure.
That's right.
Right. So the multiple leaders, and it seems like folks are taking ownership of what they want for their country, where it's not just one person, but it's what each person wants for their country.
Right.
And ownership is a huge deal.
Right. And they feel like they own it, right? And that's why, NUG, right? NUG, the National Unity Government that has been, constructed by the left, those member of the parliament, that were not captured, right? They established that. But even then, they call themselves government, but they really don't have the capability or capacity as the real government, right? But they're able to utilize that because of that ownership and that the high motivation. People are generally going toward the same goal, right? It's kind of like the schooling fish or flying geese formation.
Right.
No one really clear leader, but they all are traveling in the same direction, right? Because they have this really a clear goal, clear end state that everybody knows, right?
And let's take this out a little bit wider and talk about the Indo-Pacific. Why is Myanmar important to the region?
Well, yes, I'm glad you asked that because Myanmar is situated as a very strategic location, right? It's at the doorstep of China, back door of China into the Indian Ocean, right? It's the mouth of the Malacca Strait, and Myanmar has about 2,000 kilometers of coastline. That coastline leads into the entrance to the Malacca Strait.
The back door to the ocean.
Yeah, so it's on the Myanmar sits at the western opening of the Malacca Strait. Eastern opening is South China Sea, right? In that, so that's because of its strategic location. Over the history, right? British wanted it, right? Japanese wanted it, right? And now in strategic competition, China wants that. China needs it actually, right? And China, of course, in this strategic competition, is all about two systems. One is a representative liberal democracy, and another one is authoritarianism, right? And so China wants stability in Myanmar. It doesn't want what it is right now, but it does not want democracy, really, right? So Myanmar is also, because of that, current situation with the two systems competing, right? And Myanmar is right now at the at the front line of this democracy, right? So we talked about democracy in decline. And Myanmar is a peril. It's in peril, right? So, but the good news is that 99% of the people want democracy. Unlike its neighbors, some of the neighbors, there was a huge swath of people that like the current system. They don't really want true democracy. In Myanmar, everybody wants that, really. 99% of it want that, right? So if we're able to restore democracy in Myanmar at China's doorstep, it will send a huge message, right? The democracy prevails, right? So it's beyond just Myanmar. And I think the region is also looking at it, how we're going to, we as the United States, right, we're the flag bearer, right, of democracy. When it's come to democracy, everybody look up to us, right? So we say that democracy is important, so then we need to back it up with action. Right? And to make sure that Myanmar people prevail to, democracy. And it will send a huge message, I think, throughout. But as well as the current situation, the security situation is dire because of its ungoverned spaces, right? And the conflict, and there are a lot of conflict, and it's create situation for some of the bad actors to take advantage of, and that can spill to the rest of the region.
And to close, Mimi, I wanted to bring this back to here at the center. The Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, we have alumni, we have fellows who, because of the pandemic or because of the current state of affairs in Myanmar, they haven't been able to come here and visit us. What message or encouragement do you have for them while they're there in Myanmar?
Right. Well, I just want the alumni to remember some of this lessons that they have learned from while they were here, right? They need to implement and they need to take action. And many of them, when they were here at APCSS, they truly wanted to see the change. They truly wanted Myanmar to become a part of the international community, right? So, but the military regime, if you continue to support the military regime, that, they're not going to get there. So, if they still remember some of the lessons that we have taught them, some of the concepts and values, this is the time for them to muster up their courage and action,
Take action.
right? Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Mimi. Appreciate your time. This very valuable information. I feel educated, connected, and empowered. So thank you. I hope other folks in the region do as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.